So let's see how you can create the slider project. So create a single view app. Make sure it's an iOS project. Click on the main.storyboard file in the navigator pane. And then click on the library icon in the upper right corner of the Xcode window. And what we're looking for is a slider. And you can drag a slider onto your user interface. And you might want to increase the width. And now you can create two additional sliders, but a shortcut is to hold down the Option key and drag, and you'll see that you can make a duplicate of an existing user interface object without having to go through the library window. And so now we have three sliders, and let's click on the Add Editor on right icon. And now let's click on the viewcontroller.swift file. And what we need to do first is control drag from anywhere but on the slider. And you see our type is UI view. Let's give it a name, and the name can be anything you want. I'm calling it my view. Click connect, and there's your IB outlet. And let's create an IB outlet for each of the sliders. Let's call this one red slider because it will represent the color red. Let's call this one green slider because it will represent the color green. And let's call this one blue slider because it will represent the color blue. And so here are our outlets. Now let's go ahead and create an IB action, control drag to the bottom of the file. Let's call this slider changed. And let's change the type to UI slider. And you'll notice that the event is a value changed. That means anytime the user changes the value of the slider by moving it, it will run this IB action. And so right now, if we move the mouse pointer over the gray circle, you see it's only connected to one slider. So let's control drag from the second slider over the name of the IB action function, slider changed, until the entire function is highlighted. So you can see it's highlighted now, and here it's not highlighted. So when it's completely highlighted, let go. And let's do that for the third slider. Move it over the name, so the entire IB action function is selected, and let go the control key. And now if you move the mouse pointer over the gray circle, you'll see that each slider is connected to the same IB action. And of course, if you move the mouse pointer over each of the IB outlets, you can see what it's connected to. And so now what we need to do is type some Swift code. So we want to change the background color of our user interface, and it's going to be a UI color, and the option we want is red, green, and blue. So go ahead and select that and hit the return key. And now this is expecting a CG float value. So what we need to do is convert our slider value into a CG float. And we need to do that for each of the sliders. Like this. And the alpha, let's make that 1. And so no matter which slider we manipulate, it's going to run this IB action, and it's going to change the background color of the user interface. So go ahead and click the run button. And so this is the important thing, is to know you have to convert the value of each slider into a CG float, because UI color expects these values to be a CG float. And remember, sliders are normally a float data type, which is completely different than a CG float. So now as we move each of our sliders around, you can see how we can change and modify the color of the background. And so that's how that app works, and that's how your app should work. So again, make sure you connect all 3 sliders to the single IP action, and make sure you convert the value of each slider to a CG float. And that's how your app should work.